Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board for Wednesday, March 18, 2026. Would everybody please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a reminder to applicants, we ask you to please keep your presentations to 30 minutes or less. If you're a member of the community who would like to speak on a public hearing, there are yellow cards in the back. Please fill one out and bring it up. We'll take it from you and call you during that application. We ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. First item on the agenda, road opening, public hearing, Sean Doherty, R02025-002, east side of RD Avenue, approximately 180 feet north of Paul Place, Ronkonkoma, 12 RD Avenue. Applicant requests a road opening for one new single-family dwelling. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Doug Castellano from North Coast Civil, 39 West Main Street, Oyster Bay, New York. So the scope of the project is a proposed roadway extension of RD Avenue located in Ronkonkoma. The roadway exists on paper, so it's only partially improved right now. All we're looking to do is pave a portion of the unimproved section. The proposed extension is approximately 130 feet in the northerly direction following the existing roadway and keeps in the same conformity with the width of the existing asphalt roadway, which is 32 feet wide. The proposed roadway complies with all aspects of town planning requirements for roadways. It meets New York State Fire Code Appendix D for emergency vehicle access. The purpose is basically just to give us access to a vacant property and build a new home. The new home is modest in size. It's about 2,100 square feet for the footprint of the house. It meets all zoning requirements, setbacks, coverage, height, etc. Just quickly diving into some of the grading and drainage. So in terms of regrading, the roadway essentially just continues on the same slope that it has, which is like a 2.5% to 4% roadway. We did prepare profiles for the building, the planning department, which were extensively reviewed. So it's a relatively flat, and there's no real grade change. Again, 2.5% to 4%. We're adding new drainage facilities within the roadway, a catch basin and a dry well, which is to account for the increase in impervious area. The house meets the same standards. The site was fully engineered to retain all runoff from any proposed improvements. It'll have its own on-site sanitary system as well. The last thing I just want to touch on quickly is utilities for the roadway. So the water main that exists in the road, it ends like 50 feet south of where the new property or the new house is going to be. So what we're asking to do is just extend that water main 60 feet to the north and essentially just give water availability to the new structure. We did reach out to the water district and they gave us a letter of water availability, which was submitted to the planning department. That's really the overall scope of the project. I'll take any questions. The owners are here as well if there's any questions for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have any cards on this, so I'm going to go to Ms. Dufresne for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This subject property is a vacant 90-foot by 200-foot parcel totaling approximately 18,000 square feet located within a residential B zoning district. The applicant proposes the construction of a two-story single-family dwelling with a detached garage on the lot. The proposed development complies with all of the applicable zoning requirements for the residential B district. The property is bordered to the east by a paper road, which is an extension of the paved portion of RD Avenue. To the north are LIPA high-tension lines, and to the west and the south are existing single-family residences. RD Avenue is a 40-foot wide, non-dedicated paved roadway extending north from Paul Place. Currently, there are two existing single-family dwellings that front on the improved portion of RD. The applicant proposes to construct a 104-foot extension of RD Avenue in order to provide access to the proposed single-family dwelling. This extension will remain a non-dedicated roadway. Because the extension will terminate at a new dead end, while the remainder of RD Avenue to the north will remain an unopened paper road, a hammerhead-style turnaround is proposed. This turnaround configuration has been reviewed and approved by the fire marshal. A dead-end sign will also be required at the new terminus. Curbs are proposed along the perimeter of the road extension, and an additional drainage improvements are also proposed. Based on existing site conditions, sidewalks are not required. However, in accordance with the Town of Islip subdivision and land development regulations, the applicant will be responsible for a sidewalk mitigation fee. A curb mitigation fee will also be assessed for the remaining unopened portion of Ardee Avenue extending to the north. Although Ardee will remain a non-dedicated roadway, the Town of Islip Street Lighting Division has determined that street lighting must be installed. In addition, a sign-off for PSEG will be required prior to the Engineering Division issuing an approval for the road opening. Should the preliminary approval be granted, the applicant will return for a final approval hearing. Final approval will be contingent upon acceptance of a final resolution outlining all of the required bonds, fees, and any applicable covenants. The town engineer must also review and approve the plans prior to the final approval hearing. Based on the information presented this evening, staff recommends that the board grant the preliminary approval and require that the applicant return for final approval once the resolution is complete.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Brown?
Yes, for Mr. Frayne, this is going to dead end, and then at the end of the block is where the wires, overhead wires go from through Chestnut, Locust, through the back of the property. So this can never continue further.
It cannot. It would stay a dead end, and if anyone was to extend it further, there would be no purpose to extend it because it would still dead end to another residence to the north.
Right, and there's a non-dedicated road. We have no snow plowing obligations, no maintenance.
We do
It's
not.
all on the homeowner.
It would all be on the homeowner.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Ms. Ryan?
Just out of curiosity, have we quantified what the cost to the applicant is going to be for all of these sidewalk improvements, et cetera? Seems like a lot of stuff we're asking somebody to do, so they can build a house. I don't know. Do we have costs on that?
We will have a mitigation fee for the sidewalks that won't be installed. They don't have to install them since there are not sidewalks existing on RD, but curbing would have to be installed. We do have a mitigation fee that we just have to calculate for the final approval.
Okay, we don't know what that is yet.
If you give me a moment, I can look it up.
Well, the applicant's aware of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions?
No, just to the applicant's attorney, that your client is aware of the additional fees and that?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and grant the preliminary application.
A motion by Mr. Brown to close the public hearing, grant the preliminary application. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The application is granted.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Item 2 on the agenda, Juan Pablo Marquez, PB 2026-005, southeast corner of Carlton Avenue, County Route 17 and Ackerman Street, Central Islip, 120 Carlton Avenue. Applicant requests a planning board special permit for a minor restaurant in the Business 1 district pursuant to 68-272.1A. Site plan modifications are also requested as part of the application. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Joseph Clemens. I'm a partner in the firm German Clemens Architecture, PC, located at 3275 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite B11, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779. I'm appearing before you this evening on behalf of my client, Mr. Juan Pablo Marquez, with respect to the proposed La Cocina Ne Cristina Takeout to be located at 120 Carlton Avenue, Central Islip. Subject premises is a tenant space within the multi-tenant shopping center situated at the southeast corner of Carlton Avenue and Ackerman Street, identified as Suffolk County Tax Map 0500 141 04 61.1. The purpose of this application is to request planning board approval for a special permit to allow for a minor restaurant use within the Business 1 district pursuant to Section 68-272.1A of the Town of Islip zoning code. In conjunction with that, of a request for a parking relaxation is also being sought. As the board may be aware, the shopping center received its building permit in October of 2024 and has remained under construction since that time. The building was designed to contain multiple retail tenant spaces together with a laundromat. My client is now proposing to occupy one of the currently vacant retail spaces, consisting of approximately 1,615 square feet, the purpose of establishing the takeout. Because the site was originally designed based upon retail occupancy, the proposed change in use results in a modest increase in the parking calculation. Specifically, the total required parking increases from 59 spaces to 65 spaces, thereby necessitating a parking relaxation of approximately 8.2%. I would also like to take the opportunity to note that Mr. Marquez has direct experience operating a minor restaurant, as he currently owns and operates a successful establishment within the town of Islip on Motor Parkway in Hauppauge, where he has been in operation since 2020. With his experience in the food service industry, along with the dedication to customer satisfaction, I have no doubt that Mr. Marquez will establish yet another successful business which would positively contribute to the local community. As such, we respectfully request that the board grant the special permit, along with the associated parking relaxation to allow him the opportunity to do so. I would also like to note that both the applicant and property owner have received and reviewed the planning board special permit conditions and are in full agreement with the requirements as presented. Should the board be inclined to approve this application this evening, an executed copy will be promptly provided to the planning staff for their records. That's all I have, so I thank you for your consideration, and in the event you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. We have no cards on this application, so I'm going to turn to Ms. Wozniak for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property is located on the southeast corner of Carlton Avenue and Ackerman Street in central Islip, and it's currently under construction to build an 8,850 square foot commercial building with parking facilities in the rear. The property obtained site plan approval in October and was issued a building permit to begin construction. The building is nearing completion, and the applicant is requesting to use one of the units for a minor restaurant with 16 seats. The unit will be approximately 1,600 square feet and is located in the northwestern tenant space facing Carlton Avenue. The property will have to be improved in accordance with the site plan. However, with this application, a parking relaxation will be needed. And it is important to note that there are 3 land bank stalls should parking become an issue in the future. But based on this, planning recommends the board grant the application subject to the conditions.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, with the additional, if we grant the application for the restaurant, will there be an additional dumpster that goes on site?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe they would use the same, unless it's required by food services. Typically, that's probably adequate for what's there.
Well, sometimes they have the grease traps and they have a different collection for that.
Generally speaking, the way it should be handled, any type of grease should be collected subsurface. I do know, or I believe, I didn't do the initial design, but I do believe there's a separate grease trap that's located at exterior but underground. So that should be accounted for in that.
All right, because it is a small dumpster for the shopping center. And I was just, if there was, I'd like to know if it's going to be,
I don't anticipate there's any plans to do so, but if there's any issues, I'm sure it would be something that can be revisited.
okay.
Any further questions? Ms. Cruz?
Do you know, is there any other plans for the other businesses yet?
None that I'm associated with. I haven't heard anything else. I'm hired by the tenant, not the owner, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Not seeing anything. Is there a motion? Ms. Cruz, play with your microphone. You want to make a motion? Oh. Ms. Ryan? Mike?
I make a motion to grant the application subject to conditions.
Thank you. There's a motion by Ms. Ryan to grant the application subject to the conditions. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Robinson. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? The application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Item 3 on the agenda, O'Neill Avenue LLC, CZ 2025-022, west side of O'Neill Avenue, approximately 148 feet south of Reddington Street, Bayshore, 4 O'Neill Avenue, 0 and 26 Reddington Street, and 9 Coyle Avenue. Applicant requests a change of zone from Industrial 1 District and Business 1 District to All Industrial 2 District, along with a modification of covenants and restrictions associated with TC 5139 in order to allow for the outdoor storage of earth materials. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, Brian Kennedy, partner with Forcelli Deegan Toronto, offices at 100 Motor Parkway. The subject application seeks to unify the zoning among 4 parcels that the applicant has owned and operated his business at since 2019. The vast majority of the site is zoned Industrial 2, with smaller adjacent parcels zoned Business 1 and Industrial 1. The requested Industrial 2 zoning will permit the applicant's current business operations and would legalize a use that has existed at the site for several years. While a majority of the site is already zoned Industrial 2, roughly half of that Industrial 2 zoned parcel is designated by the New York State DEC as a wetland and thus cannot be disturbed. That is located on the western side of the property. Now, as a result, the applicant currently uses 3 lots located to the east and west side of Coyle Avenue to meet the needs of his existing business. These 3 lots are not zoned Industrial 2, but are zoned Industrial 1 to the east of Coyle Avenue and Business 1 to the west of Coyle Avenue. Subject property is surrounded by industrial uses to the east and west and abuts the Long Island Railroad tracks on the southern portion. Properties on the opposite side of Reddington Street are a mix of residential homes and commercial uses. Now, the applicant's primary business focuses on providing salt and sand to municipalities throughout Long Island. As part of that business, he stores and screens these materials prior to making deliveries throughout the state. The primary season for operations is October through March, so that is when most material is stored at the site. Now, for anyone who has been to the site recently, you have seen a large sand pile, which we understand is not appropriate for the site. The applicant is seeking a zoning change to provide for the proper storage for this and other materials at the site, and thus reduce the size of the existing sand pile and impact on the surrounding community. Now, so long as the applicant operates his business from the site, there will be some portion of the site that will house sand. The pile will need to exist, but it will theoretically not be nearly as large as it currently is if this application is approved. The applicant does not plan to change the use of the property or alter the existing building. The existing building serves as an office and garage for vehicle storage. No vehicle repairs or maintenance occur at the site. The applicant does intend to make significant modifications, including the installation of organized storage area, as well as striping of the paved area along O'Neill Avenue and several other locations throughout the site to provide 29 parking stalls where 24 are required. This includes the addition of 1 ADA compliant stall and 4 loading stalls. The applicant employs approximately 23 employees at the site, and there are no retail operations at the location, so the proposed on-site parking should be more than adequate for the existing needs. Now, in addition, the applicant is proposing additional landscaping along the rear property line abutting the Long Island Railroad tracks and along the north side of the property to buffer the abutting properties from his operations. Now, based on my discussions with planning leading up to this application, the applicant understands that should they receive an approval for this change of zone application, there will be no residential use permitted at the site. The home currently located at 26 Reddington is currently occupied. However, this home would be demolished if the property is rezoned. This area could be utilized for additional material storage and screening along Reddington Street. Now, we understand that that will require some modification to the site plan that you guys are reviewing today, but we wanted to move forward with this application so we could see feedback from the planning board, and when we make a resubmission, it could incorporate the board's comments as well as planning comments. I have Eric Jeter from Hayduck Engineering here to speak briefly on the site plan that you're reviewing, as well as the pending DEC permit.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Eric Jeter, 2150 Smithtown Avenue, Ronkonkoma. I'm with Hayduck Engineering. I'm the principal engineer. Brian appeared to cover most of what the proposed improvements are. One improvement that I would like to highlight especially is the current coordination with the DEC for the wetland protection. And so what's proposed on those plans is to essentially move the the sand piles that are existing away from the wetland buffer, and ensure that there's no more possibility for encroachment to establish the delineation. We got comments back at 5 p.m. on Monday this week from DEC, a comment letter. I can offer a copy of that or forward that to add to the record. The comments were very positive. They acknowledged that we are proposing to establish a 35-foot, it's a SMP, so a stormwater management practice that the DEC recognizes in their design manual. And so that 35 feet will be established, and before that established buffer before the wetland, there'll also be it's a pea gravel ditch essentially, but its intention is to naturally collect any sediment from drainage that moves towards the wetlands. And so one of the DEC's comments was to just ensure that we establish DEC-approved plantings within that new buffer. The intention of the plans, as you can see, is to move all the material that currently runs right up to the edge of the wetlands away, so that not only does it mitigate any possibility that material getting towards those wetlands again, but also allows for the trucks to circulate around the new established location of the pile. Everything that's being done on the site is to establish delineated parking for vehicles for anybody working at the property, as well as ensuring that there's no on-street parking associated with the business, and then also establishing some clear delineation of truck parking. So again, to help mitigate and ensure that there's no impacts to the surrounding public roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further?
With that, we'd welcome any questions. I suspect that there are some comments from the neighbors. We'd like to hear first.
I will find out in 2 seconds what those are for, and then I'll let you know.
Juan Archer?
Yes, pardon the board. I've never really been, this is probably my second time coming to a meeting like this. I reside at 27 Reddington Street in Bayshore, directly across from the property being,
Can I ask you just to speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. I reside at 27 Reddington Street in Bayshore, directly across from the property being, the application for the property directly across the street from me. I've been having an issue for years now with the dirt. I understand it's a business, right? And I understand it's a semi-industrial area, so there's a give and take. But there's actually a street directly across from 27 Reddington Street, which is a very small street that enters both of his properties, of this gentleman's property, and there's all kinds of vehicles parked there with no plates on 24 hours a day. It's an eyesore. Also, the sand is just overtaking the neighborhood. I sweep up at least a quarter garbage can of sand a week, all right? Breaking shovels, breaking brooms, I don't know what else to do. I've been going to town hall and asking, what can I do? The street is actually Coyle Avenue is the name of the street, directly across from me. When I first moved there 20 years ago, 19 years ago, there was a sign. There's no more sign, and it's being used as a parking lot. I just want some of these things to be addressed. I really don't know I didn't really read up on what's being requested, and I just got here. But I just wanted to put that in the notes. All right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's the only card I have. Anybody else wish to be heard on this? No.
How's everybody doing? Okay. Local business owner within 200. Rob Bausinger. Welcome. I've been in the area 43 years. Local business owner up at the top block, top of O'Neill Street, within 200 feet of the property. The gentleman that just spoke is right. There's tons of sand all over the place. It is an issue. But I don't see how you can rectify that. His business is his business. So I just have taken that as it is what it is. My main concerns are my property taxes going to go up? Is my property values going to go down? And is he going to be chopping concrete, which would create a health issue for me because I'm there all day, every day, making sheet metal products. So that would be my question about it. Now, the gentleman that just spoke, I'm on board with him too. I see him. He's a neighbor of mine, and his complaints are legitimate. But this, to me, sounds like it would be an improvement on what we have right now as far as the sand, because the sand pile is going to go lower, and he's moving things around. If he lowers the sand pile, which is close to his house, and maybe moves it over like is proposed, maybe it gets better. I don't know. One thing I will say is Carlos Melgar, I've known him now for a while, since he's been in the area, 10 years about, and every property that he has taken over, he has upgraded and done wonderful jobs with, stuff above and beyond that he doesn't need to have to do. But he does it because he's that type of guy. So I am standing up for Carlos Melgar. I think he's a great guy. What he's doing was explained to me a little bit more. I looked at the plans on the Town of Islip website. It looks legit. It looks like he just really wants to improve the property and do the right thing. But my concerns, again, are my health. Is he chopping concrete? My property taxes, do they go up? I'm zoned industrial 1. He's half 2, half 1. I don't know how that goes. I'm just a guy who's bending sheet metal. So basically, I'm just looking out for myself, for my health, property taxes, and I'm pushing 60. I'm probably about to sell the building, and I'm worried about the property values. And that's really it. But otherwise, I will say Carlos Melgar is a stand-up dude, and he does the right thing with his properties. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this application? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to turn to Mr. Colgan for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As stated by the applicant, this application proposes to legalize large mounds of dirt on an existing industrial site. Prior to this, the property was the subject of a change of zone to Industrial 2 in 2013 to allow for a scrap metal facility. That application was approved subject to specific covenants. Of particular concern is that the covenants limited outdoor storage to containers with maximum heights of 15 feet and in specific areas of the property that are currently not being followed. Town inspector looked at the property and noted some plantings are missing, but could not confirm if the required walls and all plantings are installed due to the size of the mounds of material on the site. The inspector did not see any evidence of any activity associated with a scrap metal facility. Planning staff contacted the fire marshal's office for the details regarding the violations on the site. These include an unpermitted repair garage and sand accumulating in the seat in addition to the use violations noted. The proposed zoning use is generally preferred in areas away from residential properties and well screened from public view. There are residences across the street, and senior housing is on the other side of the railroad tracks to the south. There are freshwater wetlands on the western part of the property, of which the earthen materials are adjacent to. There have been New York State Department of Environmental Conservation's violations issued in the past. As we've heard, the applicant is trying to rectify those with the department. The planning department has received written comments from the public concerning the proximity of the use to residential houses as well as wind-blown dirt and sand. The issue with the subject application is that it is difficult to mitigate the visual impacts of the material, provide the sufficient parking that this use is going to need, and provide the setbacks and containment needed to protect the wetlands and stormwater, the town's stormwater sewer system. So that being said, the staff would recommend that the board reserve decision in order to allow the applicant to address these concerns and verify if there's a sustainable way of mitigating the impacts.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Robinson?
So there's no scrap metal being done on this location at all anymore?
That I don't know. I don't know if he's doing anything other than the sand and salt screening, but my understanding is that's his primary business.
Okay, so how long has he been operating the business outside of the covenants that was supposed to be put in place to operate a legitimate scrap metal facility?
I don't know whether or not he operated a scrap metal facility prior to his current operations.
Okay, so the entire time the business has been operating illegally?
I don't know that. I can speak with him. I'm happy to let you know.
You represent him, correct?
I do.
Okay, so it's a little concerning, but okay. Okay, I'll come back. I'll let the other person go.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I mean, the use that you're requesting is permitted within the industrial two, which the property, we changed the zone to industrial two going back. The issues that were brought up with Coyle Street, the issues that were brought up with the repair garage are things that we have to look at to correct. And I don't know what can be done if, is there a height limit, Sean, that would be put on the pile?
So there's no formal code requirement that I'm aware of. The covenants did limit any outdoor storage on site to maximum height of 15 feet.
Okay. Now, apparently the pile right now is above the 15 feet. Is that something that your client could live within? The parameters of keeping it to 15 foot, which might mitigate the problems that we have with all the sand up and down the block?
He would have to. Yes, I think he would be more than willing to do that. And as for the parking on Coyle Street, that issue will be addressed with the additional paving along O'Neill and at the rear of the existing building. Those vehicles would then be moved off of Coyle.
Right, and the one thing too is, I mean, you have neighbors there that seem very nice. A business and a residential property that spoke tonight. It would be nice to see some sort of landscaping across the front of the property, some sort of little buffer, which I don't see really anything on the plan.
I suspect that in light of planning's recommendation that we remove the residential home directly across the street from Mr. Archer's home, that area would be screened completely, and maybe we could put additional storage south of that would allow Carlos to reduce the height of the existing pile.
Right, because, like I said, it is a permitted use within the industrial two, which we did change this property to that. It's outside the covenants that were restricted to do that, so that's why you're here tonight. And I think if we gave you the opportunity to work with planning, these things could be worked out.
I think so as well.
Thank you. I was going to go to myself, but Ms. Cruz jumped ahead of me. Ms. Cruz?
Hi, I have a little bit of questions. Does this, I know that there's some, well, to make sure that there's violations that are being fixed first before because I know there was some violations on the property that's going to be fixed before.
The violations there was a plea taken by other counsel on this. Part of that was for the applicant to make an application to planning to legalize the existing use. That's why we came here. My understanding is that this application should address any of those prior violations.
And also, one of the residents, especially the one across the street that he spoke, one of the things that I see here, there's an entrance that your truck, what is this, the truck turning plan that you have here.
Mm-hmm.
They'll now not be coming through the front. of their house, correct? It's being moved?
Correct.
According to this plan? So
Correct.
they'll be coming down on O'Neill? So
Correct.
there's an entrance on Coyle. What's coming in there then? Because it doesn't, I don't see on the truck planning, any trucks shown here, but what is this entrance then?
That right now is an undedicated street, I believe. Mr. Melgar owns 3 of the 4 abutting properties. My hope, I think his hope, is to purchase that 4th and unify the zoning and close off all of Reddington.
Okay.
Therefore, the only access to the site would be along O'Neill.
And what would be the hours of operation then, once these trucks coming and going?
He gets deliveries very early. I understand that. It's incredibly difficult to limit the hours of operation for this site.
What are the hours now?
He has trucks coming as early as 4 a.m. Yes.
Until all hours of the night, all hours, there's no, and this, Sean, is there anything you can do, is there anything for the hours of operation?
I don't recall if there's any existing hours of operation in the covenant. There probably is. Aside from the noise ordinance, there's no formal code prohibition, but it's something certainly we should discuss with the applicant. 4 a.m. does seem early.
Okay, all right, and,
I would push back on that, Ms. Cruz, because this is a predominantly industrial area. There are only 2 or 3 residential uses in that area. The vast majority of the site is commercial.
okay, I just want to know what the hours were. All right, thank you.
I'm going to go to Ms. Ryan, then I'll close it out.
Mr. Kennedy, when you say that there isn't much residential around it, are you talking about just within, 100 square feet, or like when you did your radius mailing?
Yes.
Right? Was that 200 or 500 feet?
200.
How many residences were there?
A handful, 5, 7.
Yeah. And my understanding is that this was approved in 2013. Is that right, Sean?
Correct.
Do we know what the use was prior to that? Because 2013 was not that long ago. It seems like a strange operation for an industrial use that does have residential in fairly close proximity. I'm just curious, do you happen to know, Brian?
I don't know.
No.
Sorry.
Well, while he looks that up,
Sure.
I'm just one person. I would never have approved this operation at its current location, number one, but I can't dial the clock back to 2013, so it's there. I appreciate that your client's coming in and wants to make some improvements. The sand seems to be the predominant issue for a lot of people, and Ms. Cruz, my colleague, also brought out trucking and hours of operation. So for me, I would like to see those things addressed in a more specific way once you go back and confer with your client, the applicant, and see what we could come up with. But I know for myself, I would definitely want to see some more restrictions, not on the operation in terms of restricting somebody from doing business, but more consideration perhaps given to the resident. I know there's not a lot of residential around there, according to what you're saying, and the radius mailing, but there is residential around there, and we really do want to do something meaningful that doesn't constrict your client's ability to do business. Again, he's there, we can't, take it away now, but those are the points for me. And Sean, were you able to see what the prior use was?
Yes, so the prior use, far back as 1972, was a steel fabricating business. That's
Okay.
not to say that use didn't change since then, but it's not clearly evident in town records.
Okay, so it has a long history of industrial use that makes me feel a little bit better. But if you could go back with your client and confirm the points that I brought up, and I'm sure my colleagues too, and come back, I would support the reserve decision for tonight, and then we can go from there.
Gladly. We can explore the possibility of covering some of those proposed storage bins. I'm sure that would reduce the impact of the sand on the residential.
Thank you. All right, so Mr. Kennedy, I'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything that I have listed on this. I mean, obviously, you know that we're never happy about somebody who's operating in violation of town code and then comes before us after doing all that for so long and saying, well, we've been doing it, so you should make it legal for us. So that starts off in in a bad spot for us. That being said, the steel that would be recycling that is done there is a much louder operation and a much probably more intrusive operation. But there are still residents there. So some of the things that I would put out there, one is obviously the height of the sand piles, but looking at, for instance, the town salt that they get delivered to the town is actually housed inside of a facility. So if the sand we put inside of a garage, whatever it is, it'd keep it from wind or the rest blowing it around, which would address the issue of. And then I would ask Sean about a covenant about what can be done if the sand is blowing around and the streets are covered, whether it's a requirement on the applicant that it be cleaned, or that in fact they pay some fee to the town and the town provides the cleaning of those streets more often. I don't know the answer. I'd also, unless there's a use for that Coyle Street, I don't know why the town, if your applicant or your client already owns 3 of the businesses around and will get the 4th, why it's not sold to your applicant. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm putting this out there, and made as part of the property. And then I would suggest, and which I don't see on the plan right now, is a buffer along Reddington Street, a landscape planted buffer along all of Reddington Street. There is no access anymore along Reddington Street. There's no parking anymore along Reddington Street. That gets the privacy for the residents that live along Reddington Street. So everybody then would have to access that property through O'Neill and only through O'Neill. I'll leave that to Mr. Colgan to explore if that's something that's feasible. If in fact everything else is met and we're going to go ahead with this, that's one of the things I would suggest that possibly be done. The hours of operation are a concern. I mean, there are residents there, whether it's 1 or it's 300, there is somebody who lives there, and that's been zoned that way for a long time, and there's a house there. So there's got to be something that can be worked out or something that can be done that'll resolve that issue so that there's not noise at all hours. And again, if you go across the railroad tracks, there's housing is there as well. There's quite a bit of housing on that side. So that's something else I want to look at. And I think that's really what my concerns are. I'm not happy that we're here because you're operating in violation. I do think it's better than scrap metal at the end of the day, because scrap metal will make a lot more noise and a lot more intrusive to the residents that do live there. But I think there may be ways to mitigate this if your client's willing to sit down with the town planning staff and go through that. But certainly, buffer along Reddington Street, I think a landscape buffer is required, putting the sand indoors, sort of like the town does with their salt, so it's not blowing around and making a mess. It has to be cleaned up, and then hours of operation. So
Those are all reasonable requests, and if Mr. Colgan can figure out a way to have my client purchase Coyle Street, I know that he'd be more than willing to do so.
Are there further questions from the board? Anything further from the applicant?
No, thanks.
Is there a motion? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing and reserve decision tonight to give the applicant and the town an opportunity to work together to see if we could work out what we discussed tonight.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Brown to close the public hearing and reserve decision. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Cruz. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're reserved.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Item 4, Town Board Application Public Hearing, 1840 Sunrise Highway LLC, CZ 2026-002, southeast corner of Sunrise Highway, Service Road South, State Route 27, and Brentwood Road, Bay Shore. 1840 Sunrise Highway. Applicant requests a change of zone from Recreation Service G District to Industrial 1 District, and 2 Planning Board special permits for the overnight parking of registered vehicles and outside parking of unattached trailers pursuant to 68-340.1C and P respectively. Site plan modifications are required as part of the application. Good evening.
Good evening. Keith Archer, Harris Bloom and Archer, 445 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, representing the applicant 1840 Sunrise Highway LLC. On this application for, as everybody knows, a change of zone from recreational service G to industrial 1. We've been here a couple times before. I don't know if everybody remembers. We're also asking for, of course, a termination of the change of zones. Granted, there'll be new CNRs, so we're asking for a termination of the old ones. So I believe everybody knows where this property is. It's on the north of Sunrise Highway, Service Road. It's about a 32,000 square foot building. It's east of Brentwood Road. It's the former bowling alley property that was vacant for, it's got to be at least 8 years now, if not more, because I've been working on this for at least 6 years. There was a site plan that was prepared by Robinson and Muller Engineering. And by the way, Steve Ditta from Robinson and Muller is here, as is Wayne Muller, to the extent that any questions asked traffic-wise, Steve can answer questions regarding the site plan. So as I said, we've been representing the applicant on this property for at least the last 6 years. It's gone through several proposals. Sean knows that. Some of you board members know that. There was a change of zone granted in 2017, I believe, for an indoor recreation area, but COVID kind of put the kibosh on that. And that was followed by an application that was also granted. It was subject to getting approval for a used car / repair facility. It was granted, but the applicant there walked away. So we've kind of been going through the mill on this. So in this application, the applicant's proposing to use the property in support of its current business, which is New York Party Works, which rents out all different types of party equipment. I gave you some pictures which gives you a sense. Sean had asked for actually copies of the vehicles, because what we have is we have some vehicles, some trucks, as well as some rides that are, and all these are registered vehicles, by the way. And what Robinson and Muller has done is that they've created parking stalls to accommodate all of these vehicles, as well as the assumed parking needed for employees. This is somewhat of a unique type of use, not expecting, while there is a small showroom on the site plan, the expectation is that most of the orders will be online. People will order them, and that the party supplies will be delivered. So other than employees, the expectation is that there won't be very many people coming to the site. And as I said, all of the vehicles are registered vehicles, and the parking's been sized for them. So we were very diligent, we thought, because we know Islip is very concerned about landscaping. So it's a very old site. What we did was that we kind of landscaped the heck out of it, especially the areas where they're going to be outside storage, so to speak. Vehicles parked outside, or the rides parked outside. Emphasis was along the ramp to the service road and the service road, as well as the west side of the building. The outside of the building, there's an elevation, I believe, that was submitted. I had emailed it, although we do have it here, of changes to the exterior of the building to make it look nicer. It's an old building. It needs freshening. So, unless there are any questions, that really that's kind of the sum total. And to the extent if this is granted, we obviously need to apply to the zoning board for some variances, come back to the planning board for some special permits, and go through the site plan process. That's it.
Before we go to public comment, can you just speak about architecture, what your plans are with the building itself?
The architectural?
Yeah.
Yeah, do we bring the elevation? Oh, the architecture? Oh, come on. didn't know? Oh, no. So, I'm sorry, we didn't bring the architect, but we did bring the elevations with us. I believe they were sent to Sean? Oh, they're right here? No, we have a color elevation.
Yeah, on the chair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So that's the proposal for the front of the building.
That's my question, is I see the picture there, but besides the glass that looks like the triangle, I'm not sure, besides painting the building, are you actually doing anything? Just the glass? Everything else is just painting the building? I'm sorry, I have a bad mic here, I'm sorry. So just painting the building is all you're really doing besides the triangle of glass?
I believe that's what's proposed, but obviously,
So there's room for improvement on that? You would listen to the town and work with them on that? Okay, that's was my issue. Mr. Brown has a couple questions, then we'll go to public comment.
Yeah, along the property in the back where the cemetery is, now, on your drawing, you show a chain link fence. That fence belongs to the church, or is it your fence?
by the way, I'd like to say for it in the back, there's a huge cemetery.
Right, and I have a concern along the cemetery. The fence is full of vines, and the fence is bent, and you're showing new landscaping along the back there.
Yeah.
Are you taking out all those large trees?
Steve Ditter will answer that.
Absolutely. Good evening. Steve Ditta, R&M Engineering, 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. The current proposal is that we are looking to clean up what's back there. We're going to keep as many trees as possible. We'll evaluate any trees that are dead or dying, replace whatever we can, and emphasize it with additional evergreens and bushes to provide as much of a barrier to that cemetery property as possible.
I'd like to see a delineation between not just the fence, I mean, right now it's vines. The trees that are on your property are starting to lift the pavement on the other side. And there are some, I guess mausoleums, those private ones that are pretty close to the fence line. So, I think a lot of thought should go into what trees are coming out and everything, and what type of landscaping is gonna go along that border.
Absolutely. As part of the site plan design, we're going to be bringing on a landscape architect and emphasizing that as a buffer treatment to provide as much screening and separation between the two uses as possible.
All right, and I'll wait till after we have a public speaker that wants to come up, and I'll wait till after that if I have any other questions. Bill Lindner?
Good evening. I'm on the parish staff at St. Patrick's. I run the cemetery for them. It's was purchased in 1895, opened for, well, not for business, for burials, early 1900s. That mausoleum you mentioned was built in 1926. There's 4 caskets in it, and it's 25 feet from a 50-foot tall tree. And every nor'easter or hurricane that comes, we're afraid it's going to come tumbling down and probably destroy that 100-year-old mausoleum, and I'm not sure what it's going to do to the caskets or the remains. My 12 years on the staff, I feel, well, you kind of mentioned earlier, there's not much activity, constant daily, weekly activity there. Well, whenever there's an event, there's some trucks come, take equipment out, come back a week later. As a result, it's probably been a prime target for graffiti on all 4 sides. They do clean it up, but it happens especially in the back of the building where it faces the cemetery. And it's not nice to look at when you're visiting a family member that's passed away. My last count was about 41 trees. Half of them are over a foot in diameter, a couple of them are pushing 2 feet in diameter. and they're just right up against the fence. They're actually in some areas pushing the fence. The root structure, like you mentioned, is going underground, and we have a perimeter road right there. It's causing, wherever there's a big tree, I got a crack in the asphalt. I think they need to come down and maybe some kind of evergreen thing or something that's
Well,
not
that was
like
going to be
a
my
oak.
question. Would you prefer them to come down, or do they provide shade to people who are visiting?
Excuse me?
I said, would your preference be for those trees to disappear? Or do they provide shade for people that are visiting?
Well, since we're south of those and the sun's kind of going from east to west, south of us, the shadow is on their building, not on the cemetery. And I'd rather see them gone. In fact, we've spent thousands of dollars cutting off the limbs that are protruding over the property line, over graves, and with the intention of putting up maybe some privacy slats in the chain link, or they sell this fabric type stuff that you can put over it.
I
You
would
see
like
the
to
tennis
see,
courts like that.
I'd like to see evervites or some sort of buffer that would screen you a little bit more, if we could.
Okay. But just, number one, that the lack of a daily crew at that building, it attracts vagrants, homeless, especially behind the building. We've seen people sleeping back there. It's not on my property, so I can't do anything about it. But it's concerning. A lot of female visitors are afraid to go over there when they see anybody sleeping on the pavement. We'll call third precinct if necessary, but it kind of detracts from a consoling, caring atmosphere that we like to establish there for the visitors to see their deceased family members. The other, I had heard, and I'm not in the zoning business, but if it goes industrial, or is there a requirement for some kind of buffer between the two properties? How do I get to my fence? Can I, clear out landscaping that maybe belongs to me? I'm sure my fence is back from the property line, so right now I can't get to the outside of it. And that's basically it. There's just been a lack of routine landscaping, trimming, and removal of dead trees or dead branches that it's going to damage our property.
Thank you. We'll get those questions answered for you. There are no other speakers, so I'm going to turn to Mr. Colgan for a staff report, then we'll come back for questions. Thank you.
As stated by the applicant, this application proposes a warehouse for children's party equipment and rides, and accessory overnight parking of vehicles on an existing property improved to the vacant building. Prior to this, the property was the subject of a modification of covenants to lift a restriction limiting the use of the property to a bowling alley in 2019, and a change of zone to Business 3 District to allow for a motor vehicle dealership back in 2021. No change of use materialized from either of those applications. But just for clarification, the applicant will need to modify the existing covenants limiting the use of the property to a bowling alley as part of this application. The industrial zoning district is generally preferred in areas away from residences. The surrounding area consists of single-family homes on the west side of Brentwood Road, a cemetery to the south, as we know, a medical building to the east, and industrial uses further beyond that. An email was received earlier today, I believe by the parish, listing concerns about the lack of landscaping maintenance, damage to the cemetery road and fence, as well as equipment in view of the cemetery. The conceptual site plan complies with landscaping and by the Division of Engineering's estimates of 7 stall parking relaxation. A buffer relaxation is needed to the south due to the pre-existing location of the building and the need for a drive aisle for site circulation. Variances will be needed from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a front yard and rear yard setback of the building, as well as for the vehicles and trailers. The board could consider additional land banking of parking stalls in the front yard to increase the landscaping and screening of the vehicles and the trailers, given the nature of the unique type of warehouse that's proposed. Lastly, the site plan does not propose cross-access with the property to the east, which was a concern raised last time due to the site entrance's proximity to the on-ramp, express lane, exit, and the site entrance to the property to the east. An offer of cross-access was imposed last time to minimize vehicular conflicts as recommended by the town's traffic consultant on an early application and should be thoroughly vetted by the board. The board will have to weigh the impacts of the proposed use and zoning with the site improvements and the adaptive reuse of a building that has been vacant for many years, as we all know. And the staff recommends that the board reserve decision in order to address the comments that we've heard this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Ryan? You.
Yes, I just have one comment, and a lot of other things I'm sure will be covered or have been covered by my colleagues on the board. The issue with the vagrants, the graffiti, and just the overall situation on the building that abuts the cemetery where it's visible to mourners. I actually have loved ones buried in that cemetery, so I know how they feel. I would like personally to see some kind of floodlights installed, motion detector lights, some kind of some shielding, something that respects what's going on with their neighbor next door. That's my one comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of quick, oh, you want to speak first? Go ahead.
Could I just comment on?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay, so we'd be happy to meet with the parish committee, whoever they, and go over with them maintenance, landscaping. This building has been vacant for the last 6 years or more, 8 years, since the bowling alley closed. So it's no surprise that kind of things, landscaping got out of hand, but we're happy to sit down with them, talk to them, and as we go through the process, include whatever they want that we can agree to in our site plan application.
Thank you. That was the majority of where I was going to go with this, is just respecting the dignity of what's going on the other side
No, I get
behind
it.
there,
Sure.
with landscaping, proper shading, whether it's evergreens as opposed to large trees. They don't have to worry about them falling. It'll give more privacy. As Ms. Ryan suggested, there's something security-wise back there. My other concern that you can work out with planning staff is, I noticed you're going to have the trailers on the east side, or the trucks, I'm not sure what they are, and then they're going to circle out around the back. So just again, whatever extra noise that's going to make, or whatever else that's going to do, that's properly vetted, and making sure that it's not going to add that people on the other side paying respects or mourning or what they're doing, and it's
Understood.
trucks loading up, banging noises and the rest.
I
It's
think we
not,
discussed it all.
as Mr. Colgan said, not traditionally something we'd put there along the Sunrise Highway corridor, but the building's been vacant for a long time, and this might be the opportunity. It seems like your client seems to be willing to do landscaping and other things. The only thing I would also ask you to do is, besides throwing a couple of coats of paint on that and that glass, maybe there's something else we can do to make the use look a little better, because it's really going to be trucks and trailers parked outside. So maybe improving the building a little bit will add a little more to it. I'm not sure what can be done. I'm not asking you to structurally change the entire building. Obviously, that's cost prohibitive, but maybe there's something else that can be done besides a coat of paint that would add a little more to it.
We can discuss that, obviously.
I appreciate that.
Surely.
Any further questions from the board? Oh, Ms. Cruz, I know, has a question, I'm sorry.
I know that there's, inside the building, are you going to have customers come in? Do you have a setup inside? What's going on inside the building
So
as
it's
well?
really mostly, again, I think I'd indicated that most of it is done online, so that there could be customers showing up from time to time, but most of the orders are done online, and the material is delivered. So inside is going to be the bouncy houses and things of that nature.
So there will be no parties or
No,
anything
no,
going
there's
on
no
inside the...
you know what, I neglected to say that. There's no
showcase
parties.
the bouncy houses.
No parties, no events.
And my other concern, as well as everyone here on the board, was maybe replacing the fence when you speak to the cemetery.
Sure.
To work along to maybe replace that to help shield some of the
Sure.
these trucks.
We're happy to have that conversation.
Yeah, and as far as also these, rides as well, where are they going to be parked? Because I think one of my concerns would be, if it's visible from the street, and then there's, people who want to vandalize it, or, come and try to, use it, mess around with it? I don't know. So we want to make sure that nobody gets hurt or tries to come, and so where are these going to be parked, these rides?
Oh, there we go. If you saw the pictures, you would see that the rides are going to be carnival-style rides that can be folded up into like a trailer size that a truck can hitch onto and take to a property. They're proposed to be lined up along the medical office's property. That way, the trucks can pull around the building, hitch to one of them, pull around the back of the building, and then either leave out Brentwood or come around the building and leave out to Sunrise.
Has that turning radius from where those trailers are going to be picked up, be turning around the back, been vetted and looked at by engineers? Does that actually work?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick turning radius behind this if you want to see it. but
I'll take
that's
you
up
at
to
your word as long as it's been vetted.
Are those gated? Will that be, so,
There will be a gate up here with landscaping in front of it, so basically from Sunrise Highway, all you'll see is evergreens, trees, and through it, some of the building and the fencing. You won't be able to see necessarily
rides.
the trailers from there. There might be some visibility since there's a small amount, there's no landscaping on the east side of the property to the medical use. So from their parking, you'll probably be able to see through it. But likely we'll be putting a fence on along there with slats so that it's as much privacy between the two of them as possible.
okay. And the showroom, what hours of operation will they have, the showroom? Do you know?
5 to 5.
9 to 5.
Sorry. And by the way, this plan was vetted with the fire marshal, and the fire marshal was fine with the plan.
Just one of the, okay, Ms. Cruz, that's it?
I said, finally, we have something that we can, because I know it's been an eyesore for so long, but it is a much better improvement and something than to just look at that empty lot.
And just one thing that was a covenant that was originally there on the property, I think came from our traffic consultant, was the cross-access. Have you discussed that at all with planning staff, or do you have an
We
opinion on
have,
that?
and let me have Wayne
Okay.
address that issue.
Good evening. For the record, Wayne Muller, R&M Engineering, offices at 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. As Mr. Archer indicated, our firm's been involved in this parcel since 2017, and the idea of a cross-access has come up from the very beginning. And the applicant has proposed different ways to address that. They're pretty limited. You could have the driveway on this parcel, the driveway on the other parcel, splitting the two parcels, and we were never able to come to an agreement with the adjacent property owner. The one thing that's nice about this proposal before the board as compared to the other proposals, two of which were approved, is that the traffic generated by this use is going to be significantly less than the auto dealership, the recreational facility with some supplemental retail. At one point, the applicant proposed a laundromat, which that proposal was not approved by the board. So this represents the lowest traffic generation of all the proposals that have been before the board over the last 9 years.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't, I think for other uses, in my opinion, I'm not the traffic consultant that we utilize, but for other uses, that might make sense to have a cross-access. I don't know that I want to push cars showing up for a medical office next door through a carnival where they're picking up trailers and the rest. So maybe there's a way, if you guys working with the planning staff can address that covenant so it's properly dealt with. Well, again, I'm not saying it has to be there, it doesn't have to be there, but let's talk about it. Just in my opinion, I'm not a traffic expert, but asking asking cars to go in there while you have trailers loading up and the rest, I don't know, is the same as a laundromat or a medical office or.
And one thing to bear in mind, too, is that the applicant only really makes money when the bouncy houses or whatever are on someone else's property being leased. So it's his intention to have everything leased out and away from the site rather than coming back. And the majority of the workers that come to set up the various different rides or bouncy houses or whatever, they meet at the site to do that. They don't necessarily have to come here and then go to the site. They'll meet them at the property, install the bouncy house, and then break it down and hopefully bring it to another spot or bring it back here for storage. Another thing, too, is that during the winter months, the site will be essentially, dormant because nobody's renting a bouncy house in their yard if we just had the winter that we just had. Maybe the winters before that, we could have had some bouncy activity outside, but this last winter was brutal. So the activity in the winter months, late in the fall, early into the spring, is going to be pretty limited.
Thank you. I mean, I agree with you for different reasons. That reason, I would actually say have the cross-access for the people next door so that they can get in and out of there because there is no commercial activity. But work it out with the planning staff. I don't think it's, as long as it's addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Anything further from the applicant? Is there a motion? Motion? Ms. Cruz? Thank you.
Oh,
I'm going to go to Mr. Brown instead.
well, that's not even.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing and reserve decision.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Brown to close the public hearing and reserve decision. I heard a second from Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions were reserved. Thank you.
I think it's.
Next item on the agenda was adjourned. That was item 5, Polo Campero has been reserved. So we're going to item 6, Dominic Martino, SP 2023-004, south side of Montauk Highway, State Route 27A, 112 feet east of Woodland Drive, East Islip, 10-24 Montauk Highway. Applicant requests revisions of Planning Board Condition Number 11 from the June 18, 2025 Planning Board approval. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen Affeld. Can you hear me? Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Stephen Affeld. My office is at 41 Leaside Drive, Great River, New York. I'm here representing Dominic and the shopping center. We are requesting a modification of the site plan we're requesting a modification of one of the customary conditions of our site plan modification that was added after our original hearing. We had our sign application running in parallel with our site plan mod, but when the conditions were published, our sign applications were halted because we require a variance, and our site plan mod conditions was that we were not allowed to have that variance. Our building signs are integral to the front facade. The original sign boxes enclose the street exposure above the storefront windows. They're also mounted about 7 foot 2 inches above the existing adjacent walking surface. And we cannot comply with the current sign code of an indirectly lit three-dimensional sign without an unreasonable change to the building's facade, which would be expensive. Our sign application that was newly issued consisted of a push-through shoebox-style sign that is custom fabricated for each tenant and cannot be flipped or mounted upside down in the event of a tenant vacating the space. We feel that given the unique conditions of the building and the considerations given to the design of the proposed signs, this condition should be eliminated from our site plan mod so that we can move forward with our sign application.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Ms. Dufresne for a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application was before the board on June 18th of 2025 for parking, landscape, and buffer relaxations in connection with an existing multi-tenant commercial building. That application was granted. When reviewing the planning board conditions, the architect noted that he would not be able to comply with condition number 11, specifically that the sign shall be indirectly lit or unlit. The building was constructed in the late 1980s and received a certificate of occupancy. At that time, the construction was such that the sign light boxes were let into the masonry veneer of the building. Removing the boxes in order to comply with the current sign guidelines would create a situation where the building would be exposed to the elements. Additionally, the roof overhang and soffit area are directly above the existing signage, which leaves no room for a gooseneck light fixture to indirectly light an unlit sign. The applicant has proposed to keep the existing box structure of the light, maintaining the integrity of the building construction. The translucent acrylic rectangle sign would be removed and a matte black aluminum background that does not allow light to shine through would be installed. The lettering would be push-through illuminated letters. Based on the practical difficulties, the staff would recommend approving the revision of the conditions to allow for the lit sign. Revised conditions would follow.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there a motion? Anyone but Ms. Cruz? Ms. Ryan?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the revision of the conditions, and that's it.
Thank you. It's a motion by Ms. Ryan to approve the revision of the condition. Is there a second? Second. By Mr. Robinson. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? The application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Item 7 on the agenda, El Toxico Taqueria, Jose Ayala, PB 2025-026, west side corner of Smithtown Avenue and Lakeland Avenue, County Route 93, Bohemia, 1460 Smithtown Avenue. Applicant requests a planning board special permit for minor restaurant in the Business 1 District pursuant to 68-272.1A. Site plan modifications are requested as part of the application. Good evening.
Good evening. Jennifer Ayala.
I'm Jose Armando Ayala. We submit the permit for the 16th city for the Toxico Taqueria. So we're here for.
We'll go right to the staff report if you want, and then come back for questions. Is that better for you?
Okay.
Ms. Wozniak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After the public hearing, the planning department reached out to the county regarding the Lakeland Avenue and Smithtown Avenue intersection, where concerns were brought up over safety. The county informed us that they are currently conducting a traffic study at that intersection, which should be completed sometime in March. It's important to note that the intersection is under the jurisdiction of the county, and the county will ultimately determine how traffic patterns are adjusted for safety once that study is completed. The town's Traffic Safety Division also visited the site at the request of the chairman in regards to parking concerns that were brought up by the public. During the site visit, Traffic Safety did not witness any vehicles parked along Nemeth Street and noted that parking restrictions exist on both sides of Nemeth Street just west of Lakeland Avenue, which was done at the request of the county. Traffic Safety also informed planning that they do not restrict on-street parking for individual driveways. At this time, the applicant has removed some items out of the buffer, and planning has prepared conditions that further outline improvements that must be completed prior to issuance of CO, which includes replanting the buffer and adding the ADA compliant stalls. This application involves a change of use from a pizzeria to a taco establishment. There is no increase in parking demand, and the shopping center has had a restaurant for decades. Planning would recommend the board grant the application subject to the conditions, which require site improvements to be completed to bring the property into compliance and mitigate some of the negative impacts.
Thank you. Ms. Wozniak, I just have one question. Are part of the conditions the walk-in, is that covered in there? Did you guys say that you didn't need the walk-in where it's at? That's currently in the buffer?
Walking is part of the deli, not a taqueria.
Okay, so it's not, you're not using it at all?
Yeah, it's two different things.
I believe, do you guys own the deli?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, the building is 3 stores.
So
So does the walk-in need to be there, is my question, that is, because it's currently in the buffer?
We wanted it to be
I
there,
want it,
but
and,
it's not functioning. We haven't set it up.
No, we don't
It's
set it
not.
up yet.
So there
You can take
currently
it
is,
I have a condition in there that, that it should be relocated out of the buffer and obtain a CO. And then it does say if they can't obtain a permit, they would have to remove it. I know I thought you reached out to the building department regarding the walk-in box after our conversation.
We haven't submitted a permit for that.
Okay.
With the building department. We got approval through the health department to put it there. But the building department, we haven't put that permit in yet. We're not using the walk-in box.
okay, so you're okay with that condition that's in there? You've seen the conditions, you've read them?
Right.
That was my only one issue I had.
Yeah.
Any further questions from the board? Anything further from the applicant?
No?
Oh, yes, sir.
Is there a motion? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to grant the application subject to the CNRs.
Motion by Mr. Brown to grant the application, subject to the covenants and restrictions. Is there a second? Ms. Ryan, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, your application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Cruz to adjourn, second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned.